the Auburn Blitz Podcast, your direct source for all Auburn all the time with Brett Pritchard, Faith Richardson, and Randy Lee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Blitz Podcast here on a Tuesday morning. We are so glad that you joined us wherever and whenever it is that you join us each and every day here on the Auburn Blitz and making Auburn Blitz part of your daily Auburn athletic intake. Our program brought to you by the Glenda Mitchell Law Firm. We appreciate Glenda Mitchell and her entire law firm team being partnered with us here on the Auburn Blitz Podcast. And all things Auburn Blitz. We couldn't do it without her as we get rolling into this morning. A lot to dive into, as we always seem to have. And again, a big basketball game tonight. And it seems like that's kind of the common statement for Auburn right now is every game is crucial as Auburn welcomes in Vanderbilt at 6 o'clock this afternoon, late afternoon, early evening. Can Auburn rebound? Can Auburn respond with a win against Vanderbilt? Talk about the defense a little bit more. I think it's obvious that that's probably the glaring issue right now for many reasons we can dive into. And then will the NCAA ever fix college athletics? I don't know. So much fallout from the decision from the judge yesterday on Charles Bediako. It just doesn't affect Alabama. It affects the teams Alabama played, the results, kind of how you evaluate, does Alabama deserve to get into the tournament based on those games as a whole? Do you take those games out? A lot to talk about, but we will dive into all of it here this morning. How are you, Faith?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. So let's dive into this thing with Auburn and Vanderbilt tonight. Again, another opportunity for Auburn to kind of turn it around, I guess. I guess you could say that every single time you play an SEC game, every game's an opportunity, but it's also an opportunity to dig a further hole, because I think we knew that Auburn's got to get to 10 wins in SEC play, or would like to get to 10 SEC wins. And with a loss tonight against Vanderbilt, and seeing what the schedule is coming up, I don't know I don't know how good that looks. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, this Vanderbilt team it's not a bad team, but it's definitely going to be a team that Auburn should be able to beat. If you look at, the rest of this SEC schedule that Auburn has, it's tough. It's not going to be, it's not going to be easy for them to get some of those wins that they need to get into the tournament. And, obviously the loss against Alabama on Saturday was tough for Auburn, but this Vanderbilt team, Auburn is going to have to beat them to even have an opportunity to me, I think, win some of these future games, especially out on the road.
Yeah, I think I don't think you worry even about games on the road right now. I think you got to worry about taking care of business at home, and Auburn hasn't done that so far this year. They've lost, obviously, to Texas A&M. They've lost to Alabama now. Tough losses, both close. Both had leads, had a big lead against Texas A&M, had a 10-point lead before half. Against Alabama, have not been able to hang on. I think we've just kind of pounded the dead horse on the depth of this team. I do think it has a lot to do with how they've played and, especially coming down the stretch. But this is more about Vanderbilt to me. Tyler Tanner having a very impressive season for Vanderbilt. He's fifth in the SEC in scoring. He's number 3 in assists. He's number 1 in steals, and he's number 1 in overall plus minus. So I don't know what else needs to be said. He comes in. I think he had 37 points in a loss to Oklahoma, which is cost them a few spots in the poll. They were 15th. Now they're 19th, but they're 19-4 overall. It's a good basketball team. I know they're probably still scratching their head going, how in the hell did we lose to Oklahoma? But that's the life in the SEC. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, and something we're going to dive into here in just a minute with Auburn's defense, especially around the perimeter, Vanderbilt is a well put together team as far as their offense and being able to get points inside the paint and then also be able to score from outside. And, I said this the other day. I feel like, teams are going to look at film on Auburn and they're going to see that they only have 6 guys that they really depend on, maybe 7, depending on how you look at it. And they're going to just say, look, let's just not put ourselves in such a big hole in the first half. Let's get this thing into the second half and see if we can wear this Auburn team down. And it's worked for several teams.
It has. And, Brett, if I recall last year when you and I were talking about last year's team, that, it was always the first part of the first quarter that was really sluggish, or the first half was really sluggish for Auburn. And then the last 2 minutes before the half, they kind of revamped themselves. And then coming out of halftime, it was kind of, a big boost in energy. And obviously, like we've talked about, there was a lot more depth on that team. But, this team comes out with so much energy, and they're able to make that run or have a 10-point lead. And then the defense, it just tires them out. And you can see that they're running all over the place. And they literally sometimes look like they are these chickens with their heads cut off, and they are wearing themselves down. And that's what we really saw in the Alabama game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, and I don't know who – I don't want to come on here and seem like every time we talk about this team that you're pointing a finger. I don't know at this point, after hearing what Stephen Pearl said yesterday, I don't know that some of these guys are even an option anymore moving forward. From a depth, I think this is what you have. I think what you have is what's going to take you through the remainder of the season. I don't know, after hearing – him talk about Kevin Overton kind of assuming that backup point guard role and what he's been able to do. Magwood, there's still no real definitive information on Caden Magwood, but from what I read into those comments, doesn't seem like he may be even an option the rest of the year. I don't know. And he may play tomorrow. I mean, tonight, who the hell knows? I mean, again, that's, he dresses out and he's there, but he's not an option. So and then you got Simon Walker and Bashir, and I feel like I say the same things over and over and over between games. I'm interested to see what we'll see tonight at Neville with the depth on this team. Again, the Alabama game was a game where you felt like if you'd have had a few minutes from anybody else, could have helped coming down the stretch. But if Caden Magwood has served some type of suspension or is continuing to serve some type of suspension, how much longer is that going to be? And we haven't been told anything.
Yeah, no. And then it doesn't sound like Abdul Bashir is going to be returning the rest of the season after he's been bothered with a back issue.
Right.
And he's only been in a few practice that he's been able to do anything. But, Simon Walker, Stephen Pearl said yesterday that he might be playing a little bit, a few minutes at the 2 if Kevin Overton is able to play someone. But Simon Walker might be one of those guys that starts to get some minutes in the coming up games.
I guess the question is, why has he not been getting minutes between the first part of the season and now? Is it strictly because he doesn't have any faith on his defensive abilities? Is he that much of a liability that you can't put him out there for 4 or 5 minutes and see what you can get out of him? I mean, there's a reason he's not playing. I mean, that's the only thing I can deduct from that, is that he's just not up to par. So with that being said, I had some people ask me yesterday about, what this roster is going to look like moving forward. Auburn's got one signee in the 26 class. And when you look at what is going to happen to this team after the season, again, I've said this a million times. This is not about – this is what it is this season. This roster, and you felt like you're going to have 10 or 11 players that could contribute, and you're not even close to that. Now, some are out because of injuries and things that were beyond your control, but there's obviously been some discipline issues. There's obviously some players that aren't playing up to the potential that you probably thought they could play up to. So that limits you now with about 6 to 7 guys. And when I say 6 to 7, the 2 that you're relying on are getting like 9, 10, 11 minutes a game a piece. So they're not giving you a ton off the bench as far as production. So when you move into the offseason, whenever that is for this team, what is this team going to look like? Again, you've got one signee in the 26 class. So obviously you've got to go out into the portal, and how many of these guys are going to stay? That's another thing. Nobody knows. We don't know if everybody exits. We don't know if, most of them come back. The younger guys come back. But there's no doubt it's going to be a heavy portal group that comes in, and I don't think anybody's surprised by that. That's just the way of the land now in college athletics. But all eyes will be on Stephen Pearl's first recruiting class for him, not associated with his dad, Bruce.
If you had to predict the future of what is going to happen, Brett, tell me what you think.
I don't know. I think the class will tell you a lot about what players feel about Auburn's program. And again, how much and what the result of this season will be. We don't know where this season will end as far as the record and how deep of a postseason run Auburn will make. I think a lot of that is going to be the elements that determine what type of class this coaching staff puts together. And hey, look, you kept every one of these assistants. Does any of those guys leave? That's another thing to kind of look at. Is it one of those situations where you see some of the assistants go and maybe look at other opportunities as head coaches other places? Because Auburn's got a really, really good staff, and that was an opportunity this past year that we thought maybe some guys would take, but maybe they feel like their time is now. And I don't know. This is all speculative. I'm just trying to kind of look, since we're halfway through the SEC schedule now and creeping toward March. We're already midway through February. It seems like it's months flying by. So
Crazy.
You're looking at the month of March and March Madness. And so what does this team look like? But I don't want to hurry the season along, but tonight's why I put so much emphasis on this game against Vanderbilt. They're all important, but you don't have very many home games left. And this is a big win. It's a quad one opportunity for Auburn tonight. They've let a few slip away from them. We've also broken down how close it's been for Auburn to have had a shot to be at the top of this league. The buzzer beater against Texas A&M, the overtime loss to Georgia, a couple of plays here or there. And I think Steven's right when he says we're right where we need to be in these games. We're just not making the plays. Well, why are you not making the plays? Is it because you're exhausted at the end of these games? Because you're not playing enough guys? Because you don't have enough guys? I think all that goes into the process of evaluating all of this, and it kind of leads to the next point on here. We talk about the defense, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. Ed's got a comment, so I'll get to that here. But we want to go to our partners because we couldn't do the show without them, nor would we want to do the show without them. We always start with
Sensigreen, for air that is warm and clean, call on Sensigreen. They are the carrier experts in the state of Alabama, proud supporters of Auburn athletics and a proud supporter of Auburn Blitz. I love just how this weather has been so unpredictable right now, going back and forth. And, you want a unit that is reliable and you can flip back and forth from the heat and the air conditioning. So, you want to get a carrier unit installed by Sensigreen. They are going to save you hundreds of dollars. We love saving money, and you want to have trusted people that are going to tell you the honest truth, what the problems are or what you need, and not scam you.
Nobody likes to be scammed. You're not going to get scammed with Sensigreen. Scout Program Management, a full construction management firm located in the great city of Birmingham, Alabama, but they serve all of this state. They serve all throughout the Southeast, and they can come help you with your next major project. And we have witnessed how great of an organization and great people that are associated with Scout Program Management, what great work they do. That's why people continue to pick them and choose them to lead their projects. And I watched them lead a project for 2.5 years here in Alexander City, and I can tell you that beautiful new school that we were at yesterday, when you walk around, there's not a punch list of items that you go, well, crap, why didn't all this get done while the contractor was here? Because Scout made sure it was done the right way when the keys were handed over. So your next major project, you need to contact Scout Program Management, and they will take care of you as well. ScoutPM.com online.
Bunkers in downtown Auburn. It's going to be the best place for you to go watch the game tonight if you do not have tickets to the game. It's going to be packed, so make sure you go there. But they have some of the best happy hour deals, some of the best food, and honestly, you can't find a lot of those things in downtown Auburn. So head over to Bunkers, 50 parking spaces downtown. Get over there to watch the game. And honestly, throughout this whole week, they have great happy hour and different deals each night of the week. So head over to Bunkers in downtown Auburn.
Had somebody come up to me and say, man, they think they're going to come and see us on the 18th when we go to the Cart Source. And I'm like, man, come on. I mean, we want you to come out, see what all the Alabama Premier Golf Cart Superstore has to offer. And that is the Cart Source. Easy Go, Cushman, Yamaha, Club Car, whatever it is that you're looking for, all of the top brands, all of the top amenities that go with these golf carts, the interiors, the sound systems, all of the things. And if you need, 6-seater, 8-seater golf carts for a business, you got to move people around. They've got those as well. They can order them. They can wrap them for you, whatever it is that you need. Check them out in Dadeville, Alabama, right there on Highway 280. Tell Harrison we sent you, and he will hook you up. All right. It says, congratulations to Coach Kleiner. Recruit great, the best players. Make sure they have hotel reservation and get out of their way. What a great idea for our programs. It gives all our coaches a fighting chance. Not all coaches have millionaire ex-MLB players. Hey, look, congratulations. We love Coach Kleiner here on the Auburn Blitz. He's been probably one of the best that we've worked with of anybody over at Auburn. He wears all our gear. We appreciate that when he doesn't leave it in an Uber car in California and has to ask for another hat, which we have no problem giving Coach Kleiner another hat. But we appreciate him. And what a great job he's done with that Auburn golf program. So I just wanted to say that.
Hey, isn't Hawaii coming up soon?
It is. It is. I just thought that we would be getting that invitation.
Wish you would set our hotel reservations.
Yeah, I mean, I was waiting for that to come across. I haven't seen it. I check my junk email every day to see if it's there. Possibly still hasn't arrived. So I don't know. Maybe wishful thinking on our part. But anyway, we wish them nothing but the best. The rest of but Jackson Coyven is making a case right now to be he's already one of the best, but maybe the best amateur golfer ever. I mean, just to do what he's been able to do to this point, all the things that he's accomplished is amazing. So we'll talk more about our golf program down the line. We appreciate them so very much and always very willing to jump on here with us, Coach Kleinert. And you've interviewed several players so far over the last couple of years. So we're looking forward to getting back over to the golf complex and seeing some of those guys and seeing maybe them challenge for another national championship to come to Auburn in the golf. Justin said the ineligible player that gave Alabama an advantage. Yeah, we're going to get to that. Trust me. That's for later. Big year for J.J. Falk, I feel. Got to find someone off the edge to be elite Tubbs. Yeah, from a football standpoint, we're going to talk more the rest of the week about football. Faith and I have our ranking of the portal guys. We promised you we were going to do that. We're going to follow through with that this week. So we will have our ranking of the portal incomers and who we think is going to be the big contributors. And a lot of them are some of the ones that all of you feel like, but then maybe there's some surprises in there. Can't wait to go through that with all of you guys. So Justin's asking, do you think Jared Smith could be that guy? I think Jared Smith can be an elite pass rusher. I think we've already seen that in what he's been able to do in a very early amount of time so far at Auburn.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Hopefully Deshaun Womack, Nate Johnson. Yeah, we got some guys. We'll talk about all those guys moving forward. Tubbs said other teams in SEC completely miss on players like Pegues, Bashir, that has killed us lately. Yeah, Pegues was devastating to last year's team, without a doubt. I remember so many texts and comments during last season going, I guess he's just not an option. And, one more guy on that team could have really made the difference in Auburn maybe winning a national championship. I mean, but you miss sometimes, but I don't know that, the misses have been as devastating for other teams as the ones have been for Auburn so far the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think Auburn's just been exploited in those.
Yep. All right, let's get back to defense over here. Auburn from outside the arc, teams are kind of having their way. Teams are shooting 39%. There are only 5 teams in college basketball allowing opponents to shoot that. And that's not the group you want to be associated with. You don't want to be in the talk of Coppin State and Abilene Christian and others. I'll just leave it at that. So Stephen Pearl really doesn't have an answer for this right now. I've got kind of an answer if you'd like to hear it, Faith. I think the switching at the top has been a problem for Auburn. I said it yesterday. I said it Saturday in the postgame show. I hope I don't say it tonight after this game, but I have a feeling that, again, with lack of players, and I understand that's the style that you want to run, but sometimes your talent and your depth predicate what you can and can't do. And I know you expect a rigorous style of defense, but every switch is not going to – good coaches, and I'm just going to keep saying this, they're going to force you to switch and get into a mismatch. And you got to be able to see what those mismatches are that they're trying to create. And sometimes you just got to fight through the picks. Sometimes you just got to be able to go through that and play through that. And I remember a couple of years ago, Bruce Pearl talking about that. It's like, when switching wasn't working, he's like, we just got to do a better job of fighting through stuff because they're doing that intentionally to try to create mismatches. And we'll see if there's an adjustment there. But I think that's had a lot to do with, teams like Georgia shooting 37.9% against Auburn when they averaged 32%. Texas A&M shooting 43% behind the arc. Arkansas shooting 38%. I keep going down the line. Alabama shot 52% from behind the line. It's because they exploited those matchups, and they got people there were times that Blake Mushalit was guarding Charles Bediako. I looked down three times down the floor that there was a switch and Blake Mushalit was standing down low against Charles Bediako. And I'm like, you just gotta switch back, man. You gotta figure out how to do something different. I mean, and all of us up top were talking about that. And I'm like, okay, I get it, but there's times that you just got to be able to do something different.
That's when I was trying to explain in the post-game show that you have to, at some point, look at that and adjust what you're doing in the moment because, again, Stephen Pearl even said that at the beginning of the year. He talked about how the offense that they've been studying and looking at has not matched up with what they've come out on the court with, and you've gotta change it in the moment, and that can be hard. That was back when they were a new team just starting to play together. Now you're halfway through SEC play. You should be able to change and adjust in in the middle of the game because it's not obviously what is going on is not working for y'all. And we just haven't seen that at all. Am I off?
No, you're not. I think, and here's what Stephen Pearl said yesterday. He said, against or after the game, I can't remember when it was. He said, talking about guarding on the line, he said it was our off the ball defense, which we're talking about. We were out of position too many times, especially on screens. He said, if you do that against Vanderbilt, you're screwed. So you got to do a great job off the ball, really loading to it and showing help multiple times. One of the things that you got to look at is these screens. Again, good coaches are going to watch how they can create screens and get guys loose and create a mismatch on a switch. Now, if you got length at every position and you got as good of players as everybody in those positions and you get the switches, you're fine with that, right? You can handle the switching. But, at certain times, and again, I'm not pointing fingers at Blake Mushalit, but I say this all the time, it's like Auburn's trying to steal 4 or 5 minutes, and you just hope it doesn't become a disaster out there while he's on the floor because he's not providing anything offensively. I mean, you just go back and look at all the games he's been in SEC play. He's not bringing you anything. So you've got him out there for defense, but you're also watching and seeing how teams try, again, like Alabama, to create a mismatch while he's in there and see if they can exploit that. And so, again, I don't have a magic answer for this when you look down and you're playing 7 guys halfway through the SEC schedule. I just don't. You're not playing 9 and 10. When I've gone through this, Vanderbilt plays 9 guys, sometimes 10. Florida's 10, 11 deep. Arkansas plays 9 to 10 guys. I haven't even really looked at Kentucky, but I'm sure Kentucky's playing upwards of 9. The teams at the top, Alabama played 9. Didn't they play 9 or 10 Saturday? I mean, you're out. You're almost another half of a team deficient when you're playing these other teams.
Yeah, back to what you were saying about the switching before. KO even said our switching is what it is, but still understanding that we have to be in the right positions off the ball.
Right.
And it's they recognize it. They're seeing the problem, but how can they be the ones to adjust? And is that where Murph, like I said earlier, how Murph was trying to talk to them when they were running back down the court saying, hey, we got to talk, we got to communicate here. Is that on the court where you're trying to communicate, or does that go back to coaching and having you guys have that conversation at a timeout or something with Steven?
It's good. I love all of that. I mean, I don't know. I think it's good points that you make. And, even to further what you're talking about in going in depth, Coach Pearl talking about how they force, the perimeter defense to make a tough decision at the top. It's what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Outside, this team is really good at what Auburn's not good at. I mean, so that's scary. And so all of this we're talking about with the poor perimeter defensive play for Auburn, Vanderbilt is going to try to exploit that. And so just like every other team is, and they've got shooters that can really knock down threes. So it's a very good team. They're not number 19 in the country. They were number 15. If they don't lose to Oklahoma by 1 point at home, they're probably still number 15 or maybe even higher. But that was a bad loss. There's no other way to spin it to let Oklahoma come into your building and beat you. I don't care if it's by 1 or whatever. So Vanderbilt knows that. They know this is an opportunity to come in on a Tuesday night and maybe not the most raucous Neville Arena on a Tuesday night at 6 o'clock when people are barely getting off work, and come in and say, hey, we got a good opportunity to go on the road and get a big win and kind of turn things around from that loss that we got at Oklahoma. So that leads me into this last part for Auburn basketball before we move on to the ruling yesterday and kind of how that affects everybody. Auburn's got Arkansas Saturday on Valentine's Day in Fayetteville. That's going to be a very, very tough game. The ESPN matchup predictor has Arkansas at over 62% right now. That's about right. Then Auburn goes on the road at 8 o'clock next Wednesday to take on Mississippi State. Should be a very winnable game, but it's on the road. So anytime if it was at Neville Arena, I'd feel way better about it. But you got to go on the road, so that's tough. Then you got Kentucky coming into Auburn. Auburn, again, has had success against Kentucky over the last several years, but this is a Kentucky team that now finds himself in the top 25, 17-7, playing better basketball. We know it's Kentucky. You know it's going to be tough. Then Auburn's got to go on the road to Oklahoma. Again, Oklahoma's 12-12. They could easily have 5 more wins, Faith, because they've lost a bunch of really, really close games to some really good teams. My point is saying they don't look at their record. They're going to compete, and they're going to be at home. It's going to be a tough road game. And then Auburn welcomes in Ole Miss on Saturday, February 28th. It should be a very winnable game for them. But before we get to that, you just lost to Alabama. If you lose tonight, which I hope they don't, but if you do, you got that. And then you got to go on the road to Arkansas. You're looking at a very, very tough stretch. And you're looking at a situation where Auburn's sitting at 5-5 after 10 games, 14-9 overall. You don't want to be looking at 5-8.
Not by any means.
And you got 3 really, really good teams coming up. In
it already feels like you're digging yourself out of a hole, and if you end up losing these next 3 games, I don't know.
I just think you're
get out of the hole.
Yeah, I just think you're at such a pivotal part of the season at 5-5 with 8 games left that you're sitting here going, all right, you're 500. Which direction are you about to go? Are you about to vault yourself toward the top of this league, or are you going to go backwards a little bit? So Justin asked, who's the pushover? I don't know that there is a pushover. I mean, South Carolina took Auburn to the brink in Neville Arena, and if it hadn't been for Philip Jovic having a career game, Auburn loses that game. So, you just have to play well every night. And, you've seen what LSU got beat by Kentucky on a buzzer beater. Oklahoma just went into Vanderbilt, who was number 15 in the country, and won by a point. I mean, you got to play great every night. I don't have any explanation. You think Arkansas has any explanation for why Auburn blew their doors off in Neville Arena a few weeks ago? No. I mean, John Calipari said, I'm not even going to watch that film. There's no need to watch it. He said, I don't even know what that was out there. So if things can go crazy in any of these games, so that's why you go, hey, look, you got to try to protect your home court and then you got to go steal a few on the road. And Auburn's let a few slip away at home, and they could be in better position. And again, for whatever reason, woulda, coulda, shoulda. You just hope that the Texas A&M game and maybe this Alabama game you look back on and you go, that you hope that those aren't games that go, man, if we'd have had those, we would be here instead of here. So time will tell. We'll see. All right, a few more of our partners here on the program before we move into the final part of what we want to talk about. I know a lot of you probably have opinions on this, so we will dive into that here shortly. But Oliver Ross.
Oliver Ross, for all of your bartending needs, whatever it is that you might be having, a work event, a convention, wedding, sorority, fraternity, day party, whatever it is, Oliver Ross is going to be your professional licensed bartender service. They are going to make sure you and your guests have a great time and that you don't have to worry about bartending while you're doing the hosting or whatever you're doing in the event. So make sure you call on Oliver Ross. They've got some great bartenders that you don't want to replace them with Brett and I.
No, not going to probably mix up the drink that you want. So definitely call on Oliver Ross. Also call on Russell Medical Center for all your medical needs. We will be out there tomorrow. Looking forward to Russell Medical Center. We will have Jackie Pearl as our guest at lunch. So again, appreciate her and Morgan and the whole staff, Russell Medical Center, for having us out there. We appreciate their partnership so very much. Voted one of the top 3 hospitals in the state of Alabama for all your medical needs. Great doctors, great facilities, all the things. Russell Medical Center is the place to be, and it's right there on Highway 280 in Alex City. Also, another great business in Alex City on Highway 280. All these great businesses right there for your convenience on Highway 280. Alex City Marine, boat rentals, sales, service, and storage. They've got top-of-the-line pontoon boats for you to pick from. Top-of-the-line center consoles, as you can see if you're watching. You see this boat every single time we pull this up. Full line of those Blackfin center consoles powered by Suzuki and Mercury and Honda, all the best in the business. So check them out or call them 256-215-3474. Appreciate all of our partners. And Glenda Mitchell Law Firm for our presenting partner here on all things Auburn Blitz. So Justin, how do you think we finish the last 8? Where are we predicted in the tourney? Anywhere from a 7 seed to a 9 seed. You don't want to be in that 8-9. I mean, you want to make the tournament, of course, but the last thing you want to be is an 8-9, because you win that game, you got to play a number 1 seed in the second round. It's just not a good draw. But anywhere from 7 to 9 is where. But again, a lot's going to be dictated on what Auburn continues to do here the rest of the way out. I mean, I don't know, Faith. What's your call on these last 8 when you look at them?
It's going to be tough. I mean,
Can you get 4? I mean, LSU, you got LSU at home. Feel like that. You got Ole Miss at home.
Yeah, you've got some of those. But, I mean, again, this is just not an easy schedule by any means. But, Brett, we've talked to plenty of high school coaches throughout, this season, and a lot of them have talked about it doesn't matter when the team earlier, when they decide to click, as long as it's not in March or later in the season. And so, you would think maybe this Auburn team would already click, but it was a brand new team, basically. Maybe they'll find their groove once they're able to do it. I just, with the lack of depth, that's where it's just going to be a knife to the back every time.
It is. And I don't know, can you get some help from some guys coming down, the stretch? Can somebody contribute? Now, that's probably going to be the thing to watch moving forward. So, okay. All right. Well, the NCAA ever fix college athletics? Obviously, we don't have enough time to go into extreme depth with that, but the Charles Bediako case yesterday was shocking to all of us. I'll just be honest. When you sent that over to me, I don't even know what I was doing. But I looked down and I went, the first thing I wanted to go is say to you is this AI? Is this fake?
Are you sure you're not getting trolled like
not,
it's happened before?
Yeah, I'm like, can you please check and make sure this is that Scott Hughes guy that trolls
Whoever that
everybody?
guy is, I need to block him.
Yeah.
I'm so over seeing stuff from him. I'm
Just,
so over it. I feel
yeah.
like such a dork.
So anyway, of course, who knows what's real anymore. So you have to look. We had another story yesterday that was told to us that we're trying to dig and check on and nobody knew about. And then it's like they told us, well, I think that was an AI generated story. I'm like, my gosh, man.
I'm
like,
sick of AI, like actually.
I wished it would explode. I really do. So, but anyway, I'm shocked.
Yeah,
Still shocked.
Yeah, once that was, confirmed and ESPN posted it and everything, that's where it was shocking. All it took was a judge that wasn't an Alabama donor. Duh, right? I mean, come on. And after you play Auburn, like, come on. That's of course when all of this is going to be settled.
Let me tell you what I've got the biggest problem with. Not that he was ineligible or was, would have been granted eligibility. Now that this TRO that kept him playing, the caveat at the beginning was, well, regardless of what happens down the line, they put a thing in there where Alabama won't have to forfeit those games. So, and I had somebody say, well, it was like we're playing with house money. And I hear that, but that was what I had the biggest problem with the whole time is that what you do is going to have consequences, but there's no consequences for you. So you're stealing 5 games with a guy that could possibly be ruled ineligible. And if he is ruled ineligible, oh, well, the damage that has been done, there's nothing that we can do about it. I mean,
I remember somebody had commented and said, well, can't the NCAA decide what happens with Alabama in the tournament? And you immediately said, no, they can't, do anything.
The committee can decide whether they want to count these games or not, I guess. I guess they can say, well, let's just take all 5 of those games out and evaluate Alabama. So, but again, you just going to take 5 games out of a schedule and just say, well, we're just going to evaluate the rest of what you've done. I know some of the Alabama people would say, well, that would hurt us because we had 3 wins, but you also had 2 losses. So you're just taking all of that out. So I mean, again, the TRO with the caveat of, hey, if he's ruled ineligible at some point in time, you're good. Whatever happens in however many games he's able to play, it won't hurt you. I mean, that to me is the biggest problem with this whole thing is that there were, look, if you want to gamble.
Was that the NCAA that said that?
I think it was what was written in the TRO.
By the judge, though.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I mean, Bama Willie said, did this ruling say the TRO was null and void? I don't know. I don't, again, I think a lot of that.
All I see is that his injunction to continue playing this season for Alabama has been denied by a judge.
Correct. So the ruling was, could he continue on? And they're saying no. So I think it ends there. So the whole point I've had the entire time is that, okay, you could do this, but there should have been a caveat in there that goes, hey, look, because if you want to risk this I know that, again, that's part of why you adding somebody into the middle of the season and you're like, well, why should he have to wait? Because the clock's running. Well, the only way he was able to play to begin with is that you issue that TRO. But there should have been some consequences to it. I'm sorry. It's just, again, goes back to why all of this has been a circus from day one. And allowing somebody to come in. And I hear the other side, too, about the Europeans. I do. I hear all that. I get all that. But again, I texted with some people this morning. And I said, that's why we live in a circus in college athletics. And so now that this has been ruled, what is the next step for the NCAA? Are they going to look at the Euro pros? Are they going to look at all this and going to say, look, but why didn't they do that from day one? Mm-hmm. Why didn't they just do that to begin with?
Yeah, so, okay, I looked up to see if the 3 wins are at risk, and basically all it says on ESPN is that, um, r right now, they're not able to do any like, they're not able to put any penalties or suggesting anything. They're not able to restrain from threatening, imposing, attempting to impose, suggesting, or implying any penalties against Bediaco or Alabama. And the president of the NCAA, Charlie Baker, never mentioned anything of vacating wins. And
I mean, again,
all he said was, "For a lot of really good reasons, people who lose in court can't turn around and punish the people who won."
okay, whatever.
He gave a brief statement
I,
and that was
I
it.
just so for 5 games, you just let whatever happen, and the consequences be what they are while things get hung up in a court of law. I mean, it's unbelievable, man. Again, there were consequences to him playing. You know, whether it had been 0-5 for Alabama or 5-0 or 3-2, the way it ended up, there were consequences to this. You can't just say, "Oh, those games, oh well, we're just going to move on."
but think about also, basically any other let's talk about I know this is the Auburn Georgia football game where the referee was suspended and all those things. That game did not get forfeited or taken off the schedule or anything. They don't do that, so I don't know why we would ever wonder or think that the NCAA would do anything right
No.
or fix anything, so
Well, and it's also like with the buzzer beater with Texas A&M, and Auburn was still looking at all that. And I told you in the post game, I'm like, there's nothing going to happen because the rule says once play is over and ruled, the game is final as is. The game is final as is, whatever consequences went on during the game. When that game's over and officials leave the field of play or the court, that game is
nothing can
done.
happen.
You can't go back and look at a film. Go, oh, they did miss that. We're gonna award the win to whoever it was that got screwed. You can't do that. It's the way the rule's written. So they'd have to change the language on that. But anyway, we're not going to spend any more time on that. But that did. Hey, look, he did have 12 points Saturday against Auburn. He was 5 for 5. He helped Alabama win against Texas A&M. You know, I'd be saying this, and I told some of my Alabama friends, believe it or not, I have some Alabama friends, but told some of them if this would have been Austin Wiley coming back for Auburn, I would not have liked it at all, period, because it's not what college athletics is designed to do. It's not designed to go grab people that have left your university and moved on to other things and then decide, oh, I need to come back. And again, now you got Charles Bediaco sitting out there going, what is he going to do now?
So, does he still get to finish out on scholarship and get his degree like Nate Oates promised?
You think he's going to go to class? I'm just asking.
Well, what's he gonna do, Brett? Is he gonna go to the NBA? Is he gonna go back to the G League?
I
Like,
don't know. I mean,
so maybe getting a degree might be a good
what about
idea.
a novice idea? How about that? They actually still make those, don't they, at colleges, right?
As far as I know.
They still print diplomas and stuff. That is actually a path. You know, it's good to see yours back there
Yep.
on the wall. Yeah, I'm not being objective at all, Justin. I'm against Alabama all the time. Of course, that's what I live to do. So anyway, with that being said, that will send us out. That's been 50 minutes of fun talk, and we will have more later on in the week. Obviously, we will be on location tomorrow at Russell Medical Center. We're looking so forward to that. Excited for that. I'll be on location at JR's on Thursday. You will be in parts
I'll be
unknown.
there.
You'll be at JR's with me?
Yeah. I'll be with you.
I thought you were going to be parts
Nope.
unknown. So,
Nope.
wow. Okay.
I
So,
told you
didn't know
going
that.
after.
Didn't know that. So anyway,
Yeah.
or either I was not listening as always, right?
Hey.
So that happens too. So anyway, we will see you a lot more this week. Obviously, make sure you hit the subscribe button out there. It helps us so much. A lot of you done that, and we appreciate it so very much. And make sure you hit the like button as well. Faith, you got anything else?
I hope everybody has the best day ever.
Every time, always.
Every time.
Be good to people. Say something nice. I know even to some of your Alabama cohorts today, be nice to them. That they need it after the Pediaco ruling. All right, we will catch all of you next time for more Auburn Blitz.